Good morning, Breakfast Club family. This is Mark Stevens with our host, Joe Shoup. Top of the morning to you. December the 18th. Not far away from the great celebration, but we're celebrating right now. We're celebrating now into the new year, all the way into next year, because we got a lot of things going on. We got a lot of great things coming up, and again, I am excited. I have not come down. I don't think I'll be coming down because I keep getting ideas in my head, and I keep wanting to do things. So we're close. So just hang in there with us. Be patient because we're close. We're close to, I say, making history. Because, again, I feel like the changes that we're making and the changes that we're putting forth not only will change it for a lot of us, but it will change it for this industry. We're going to crack the code of that 97% and bring it down towards the 2 to 3%. So, but we need your help to do it. So we want you to engage. You know, those of you that haven't gotten into the classes, you need to get into the classes. Those of you that need to get Tools Rock, you're going to need to get Tools Rock because I'm telling you, we're getting ready to bust out of the jail. Everybody wants to be free, we're going to get you free. You want to get excited, we're going to get you excited. You just have to go to W-O-R-K, as Joe puts it, work. And work is good for you. You know, like I said, some of the things yesterday, a lot of things are good for us. All we have to do is embrace change, because change is here, and change will continue to come, and we'll continue to embrace it. So, with that being said, good morning, Joe. How you doing?
Good morning. Good morning, good morning.
I know you got some good stuff for us, so I'm just going to turn it over to you and sit back and relax and enjoy this breakfast.
Well, I'm just, again, excited about the people going through this class because this is a smart crew. I mean, they really are. They really grasped this right away. And the thing that, for most of all, for me, is that they grasped the no gaps and assumptions. And if you're haven't been in the class, you don't even know what that means. But it's really critical in your conversation. And learning how to just make the statement and assume that it was understood and that you have the right to move on. And that's what was exciting for me, because they don't always get that, and they seem to have gotten that as a group. So we did a lot of work last night with people role-playing with one another, and they really sounded good. So that's exciting because it's just given people the courage, number one. Courage just comes from confidence, understanding your role, knowing that you're not going to get stumped, knowing when you pick up that phone and somebody asks you a question about your business, you know exactly where to go.
Yeah, Joe, we've got a hungry group, and that's a good thing.
Yeah.
They want this. You can tell in their voice and their demeanor. In other words, they want this. And you know what? They're going to have it. They're going to have it because they want it bad. They want it. They'll have it. So it's a great group, I'm telling you.
I feel bad for the people that didn't attend. I mean, there were a couple who just didn't come, and that does happen. But this group was the largest group that, percentage-wise, that came back. A lot of people get afraid of the role play. They get scared, and then they think they're not going to do that, and they'll figure out a way not to get there. But this group, most of them came back, which I was very pleased with. And they were real comfortable working with each other. So hopefully, they study for tonight so that, we can just help them move forward. Look, what we're supposed to be doing in this business is helping people. That's the deal. We're supposed to be helping people. When you own your own brick and mortar business, the main focus is on making money by making the public aware. That's what you do. And here, it's not about making the public aware. It's about finding the interested party who wants to, A, manage a business from home and help people. Big difference.
Yeah.
I suspect most people that open a shoe store aren't in it because they want to see the whole community walking around in really cool shoes. I think it's because they know there's a demand for shoes and they can make money. You know the old saying, create a need and fill it. That's how you make money.
Yeah.
Here, it's not that way. It's a major difference between, there's two major differences, that and the storefront concept. People walking by, knowing that you're there. And the community, can walk by and see your store, and the word will spread. Here, nobody's walking by your house. Nobody knows you're there until you tell them.
Yeah.
So you got to tell them. You've got to tell people where you are. I was excited for Shirley yesterday. Shirley is Rudy Pitts' wife. Is she on today? Let me see. No. But either way, she called me because she had 3 appointments yesterday. This is a brand new person in the class, and she called to ask me something about the scripts. And I was excited about that and then I realized, or she told me that she had been in sales before, and computer sales. I wish she was on here to comment. But she told me she was in computer sales before, and she understood. And I can tell, Rudy was on last night. We got to bring Shirley on tonight and have her talk and answer some questions. I suspect she is the marketing person in that group.
Mm-hmm.
You're talking to her. But anyway, she had 3 appointments yesterday, brand new. She has a whole bunch of leads, and this is just an example of. And I used to ask Charlie Bruce, well, where do you get your leads? He said, from everywhere, anywhere, everywhere, nowhere, pull them out of everywhere. Doesn't matter where you get them. You just need a phone number and a name. Now, in those days, there wasn't a computer where we could send them something first and call them back and say, you looked at. Now, let me address that, by the way, a little bit here. We'll address it tonight. But there are 2 scripts when you call somebody back. One is if you call somebody cold. Never talked to them before, never sent them anything. So that's called a candidate search script. You're looking for people who know nothing about what you do, don't even have any information. So when you initially say, the reason I called, it's different than the one where they've already seen a tool, a funnel, a piece of information. The first one is, the reason I called is you were on one of my websites. I want to speak to you about managing a business from my company. So some people say, well, what do you mean you were on one of my websites? Now, most of the time, people are getting those names, they're buying them, or they're getting and harvesting on the internet. That alone tells you they were on a website somewhere. That's how they get harvested. So that's why it's okay to say you were on one of my websites. When one asks in that category, where did you get my name? You need to be prepared. You can't say, I don't know, I'm not sure. You never do that in sales or marketing. You always say, oh, sure, that's not a problem. In fact, we work with several companies who supply us with names of people who at some point were interested in managing a business from home. Have you ever ever managed a business from home, Frank? Yeah. And move on. It's not that important where you got their name. And to them, because of some type of suspicion, they may push that issue. But you never say, I don't know, I'm not sure, could have been this. So I always say, we work with several, and we do, because there are several companies out there who supply us with those names. Which company was it? It's probably our main site, Frank. So as I said, we work with several companies. So did you say that you rated our company as a 10 or an 8 or a 9, wherever you are in the conversation? You have to move on without the gap and assume that what you said is acceptable, it's not important, and I'm moving on. When you get that technique down, nothing will stop you. And you can't be sitting here and saying, yeah, but if they, you know what, you might as well not do this business if you have that attitude. You've got to get the technique down that they ask the question, you answer it according to what you think the way it should be, and not the way they think it should be answered. It'd be nice if you could say, yeah, we work with, ABC marketing company. Do you remember going? You start asking questions like that, they're going to say, no, I wasn't on any ABC. Oh, really? Well, maybe it was. And then you start sounding like, well, you just pulled it out of a phone book. You might as well tell them that's what you did. You've got to understand that technique. Sure, not a problem, Frank. We work with several companies. Now, if they say, that's if they say, what website was I on? If they ask me, where did you get my name? Where did my name come from? Everybody knows that's been through this class what I believe you should be saying to get out of that subject and move on. Are you familiar? Sure, Frank, that's not a problem. Are you familiar with the methods corporate recruiters use to locate quality people? Yes, I am. Well, we use the same methods. Frank, did you say Wednesday was good or Thursday was better? Now, for those of you that haven't been in sales and think that you have to have a conversation about that, you need to change. Remember? You afraid of change? No, I'm afraid of staying the same. You keep staying like that, and you're going to get stuck in these conversations that you don't need to be in. Your only conversation or objective of that conversation is to schedule the appointment. If that means getting them over to a director or scheduling an appointment for another piece of information, getting back together with them, it doesn't matter. It depends on what script you're on. But you have to master these techniques and not put your thinking into it that, yeah, it doesn't sound right. It doesn't sound. Don't do it then. So if they say, if they say to me, well, Joe, where did you get my name? And I say, well, Frank, are you familiar with the methods corporate recruiters use to locate quality people? And they say, no. I say, well, we use the same methods. So, Frank, did you say Wednesday was good or Thursday was better? Why do I have to have a discussion whether he knows? Not my fault he doesn't know how corporate recruiter works. And by the way, that's how corporate recruiters work. They harvest names. They get them from people. People fill out stuff. So who cares? If you want to get technical and really be nice and, have this wonderful conversation and bond, then go down that route. But we can't help you if you do that. So technique. It's what it's about. Moving forward, knowing your objective, knowing who you are. You're just a secretary. You don't know where the doctor went to school and what grade he got on his 5th year. You don't know that. But you just say, sure, that's not a problem. When you get in here, the doctor's going to handle that for you. Okay, so I wanted to make that clear, Mark. But I tell you that the people that we're dealing with now in this class are understanding these two very important aspects and techniques, which is assuming, which we normally in life we don't want to do. Here we do, and those no gaps. So I'm really, really excited. I think this is probably the best group for that I've seen.
Yeah, they're pretty neat.
I just want people to get ready for this new year. Get these techniques down. Get these scripts down. Get the answers to everything so that you are confident. If they say to me, am I making any? Are you making any money? Or would I have to sell to my family and friends? Most people are going to ask that, and you have to know the answer to that. You've got to memorize, pull the answers from memory. That's what that means. So that's, that to me, Mark, is just very exciting that this group is actually, learning these techniques to move people forward to another piece of information or to the director. So I accidentally muted. Can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you.
All right.
Yeah.
Now you can't see me, right?
That's correct. Can't see you. See you on the bike.
That's it. That was an exciting trip. That was my first ride on an electric bike. That's a little electric bike that my friend owns. And so after I got back from that trip, I went and bought 2 of them.
Wow.
So yeah, that's at the Edsel Ford Museum. Not that anybody cares, but that's where it is. That's in Michigan. So anyway, I don't know if you want to add to that, my friend. I'm excited about tonight because tonight is a little tougher segment, which is all about these questions and answers. And are you really ready? Word for word, no mistakes, no hesitation.
Well,
next week, our final class will be this director class, totally understanding what the director's supposed to do. How are they supposed to deal with your call when you call up and say, hold on for a second, I'm going to get us over to a director. And they'll answer all the questions for you. Now, you say that to your prospect so that they feel comfortable. They feel comfortable knowing they're going to go and get some questions answered. However, when you get there, the introduction is different. The introduction is, Frank, this is Mark Stevens. He's been in the industry XY years. He's one of our trainers and directors in the company. He's had great success teaching people how to manage a business from home. And Mark, this is Bob. Now the real thing begins to let Bob know he's going to be interviewed. This is Bob, and Bob has looked at the website. He's been over the XYZ website. And I thought we might have a match. I thought you might have some questions for Bob. So now Bob is in all of a sudden back to, okay, they're going to ask me questions now. And that just makes it all look serious, which it should be. As opposed to, well, Bob, here's Mark. Go ahead, fire away. Mark Stevens down there in Virginia, and he's really a cool guy, and he's really a good friend, and he's, his family, and he's a good in this and that. And go ahead, ask him all your questions.
Mm-hmm.
That's not how it works. That's how it works in most organizations, but that's not how it's supposed to work. I suspect that's one of the reasons that most people get off of three-ways and say, nothing happened when I was there. We talked to those people, and my upline, said all kinds of stuff, and they're not coming in. Oh. Anyway, that's where we are. So I thought you'd want to comment on that as well.
Yeah, well, again, this group, they're coming with their boxing gloves on tonight because it's going to be a little tough, but they'll get through it. And like I said, you go through the fire, you come out like fine gold. And I think we'll have a lot of gold coming out of this group. So I'm really excited for them, and I think they're excited for themselves, which makes a big difference. And they have courage. They have courage. You don't have the majority of them don't back down. In other words, let me do this, let me try this, and that's a great thing. That's a great thing. So
let me answer this question. This is a question. Why is it not okay to tell people where you got their name and number from? Well, it is. It is okay if you actually know that you worked with, XYZ company. Most of the time, you don't know where. If I know that the person Kendra is asking this question about that because she does a lot of voice broadcasting. In her case, the person already knows because in the beginning you're going to tell them why you called. You responded, and today you've to one of our voice broadcasts. And then they're not even going to ask that. But if you were calling from a list, Kendra, and somebody asked you, you have no clue exactly where it came from and how XYZ company harvested that name. And if you say, well, I work with ABC company, and what they do is they go out and find people who are interested in that, they're going to say, I don't know anything about ABC company. You're inviting a conversation. And you don't need a conversation as to why. It's okay to tell them if you really know. You responded to one of our national ads, and today I left the voice broadcast for you, and you responded. That's okay. But if you're calling from a list and you don't really know where those names came from, you can't say, here's some of the things you never do. I don't know. I'm not really sure. It probably was this. So you don't ever want to give let me answer that for you. But you never want to have the prospect thinking you don't know or can't get the answer. Okay, no, they ask where I got their number from. Well, again, are you familiar with the methods corporate recruiters use to locate quality people? Where did you get the number from? If you bought it on a major list, you're going to have a conversation. And you don't need a conversation about that. So if you bought that lead list to put that in there, or from the voice broadcasting company, that's what they're going to do. They're going to say, oh, well, what's it say? Who scrapes them off the internet? Well, that's what's going to happen. And you're going to end up in a conversation about where the name came from, which is not important. What's important is that you move them to that director and move them forward. So when they ask me, where did you get my name? I mean, I can't say I don't know, or, you know, the company I work with just harvests them off the internet. What happens to that person on the other side? They don't feel that important about it. The reason we say, well, we work with several companies who supply us with names of people. There's the answer. Who at some point were interested in managing it. Are you still interested in managing a business from home, Frank? Now he knows that at some point he may have answered a question. If he says, no, I never did any of that, say, well, you know, and again, the answer's on that sheet. You know, our records show that someone at your computer at this IP address did address that. Frank, let me just ask you this question. Are you interested in a career change if the money were right? The point of it is that none of that matters when the bottom line, what really matters is, are you interested in a career change? Remember, what we're searching for are people who want to manage a business from home. In other words, an interested party. And if I have to get in dialogue about phone numbers and companies that do that, it's not that important. I don't want that dialogue. I just want to know, are you interested in, I wish I could dial the phone 1,000 times, put it on a machine and say, hey, this is Joe Shoup. Would you be interested in a career change when money were right? Great, thank you. This is Joe Shoup. Are you interested in a career change when money were right? And then move from there. Dial 100 of those and get 30 people who say, yes, I would be if the money were right. Tell me more about it. I'd have 30 leads. Where'd you get my name? Well, we have several companies that supply us with names of people who are interested in managing a business from home. Are you still interested? I had someone say to me once that I used the script, after I used the script, where did you get my name, said to me, you mean you don't know? What is the best response to that? Well, again, let's go back. They said, and you answered saying, you probably said we work with several companies. I suspect that you did not use the first one, right, Gloria? Are you familiar with methods corporate recruiters use, or did you say we work with several companies? And I want somebody in that class to tell me the very first thing out of here. Let me read her statement again. I had someone say to me once, after I used the script, where did you get my name? When they asked, where do you get my name? Gloria, which script did you use? Are you familiar with the methods, or we work with several companies? I don't see your answer here. Type something in there.
You know, Joe, while she's doing that, you know, the very important thing is not having any gaps in there. And if you keep the control of that conversation and keep it going, they're going to just pass over that. So it's very important.
Gloria,
to get the technique down.
Answer the question. That's not an answer. Okay, there we go. Several companies. Now I got you. Okay, fine. All right, now, so I work with several companies. And all right, here's what she said. Well, Frank, I work with several companies who supply us with names of people who at some point were interested in managing a business from home. Have you ever wanted to manage a business from home, or have you ever had a success? And he says, well, wait a minute. In other words, you're not going to tell me? In other words, you're saying you don't know where my name came from? Now, keep in mind, look at that. I'm glad that came up, Gloria. Thank you. Because that's what people are going to think if you don't give them direct answers. So, in other words, you mean you don't know? Somebody, in fact, Gloria, type in and tell me what you think the first words out of my mouth are going to be when he says, you mean you don't know? Very first 3 or 4 words right out of my mouth. It's the same as when somebody asks me, is this a pyramid? Same concept, I should say, not the same words. All right. Somebody has to know the answer to this. Come on, type it in. First thing out of my mouth. There's about a 15-second gap from my posting. Oh, okay. No problem, honey. I got you. Yep, I see that there is a gap. All right, so somebody type in. They say to me, in other words, you don't know? What do you think I would say? It's not my job. I wouldn't say that, no. Remember, you never say it's not, I don't know, I'm not sure. Look, the people have to be confident that you know all the answers, even if they're not satisfactory, because don't forget, we're getting to a director. So here's what I would say. You mean you don't know? Oh, absolutely, I do know, because as I said, remember that terminology? We work with several of those companies and was probably our main site. So, Frank, let me ask you this question. Are you still interested in managing a business from home? Yeah, that's good, Roger. As I said, Frank, we work with several companies. You repeat the same thing. The answers are all there. You just have to pick out where they belong. And I would go back in, so you don't know? Absolutely. We use the same methods corporate recruiters use to locate quality people. Well, are you familiar with those methods, Frank? Really, I'm not. Okay, well, Frank, let me ask you the real pertinent question here. You can ad-lib those kinds of things. Let them know. Look, I would like to say, look, Frank, what's the difference? Seriously, what's the difference where I got it? Are you interested in a career change or not? Now, of course, I wouldn't do it like that. But in the back of my head, that's where I am. Remember, it's about thinking. We're not here to schmooze and make sure it's all wonderful and dandy. I'm here to find out, do I have a business person or someone who wants to manage a business from home, or don't I? So when he says, well, in other words, you don't know where it came from? Well, absolutely, I do know. As I said, we work for several companies that supply us with those names. Several companies, Frank, and it was probably one of our main sites. But let me ask you the most important question here. Are you interested in a career change if the money were right? Remember, no gaps, assumption. What I just said, he should get it through his head that I don't really care about this, where'd you get my name? What difference does that make? No, I can't say that. You can't say I don't know and what difference does it make and come on, Frank. It's just nicer. Oh, sure, Frank, that's not a problem. Actually, I do know because we work with several companies. That's where we got it. And you don't have to go in and say, look, I have to go look up all of the companies to see and where they got it and how. That's not the dialogue that you want. You're trying to find out if they have an interest in moving forward, getting more information, or moving on to a director. And all the questions they ask me, my answer is going to be the same. As I said, Frank, we work with several companies. As I said, Frank, we use the same methods corporate recruiters do. And you're familiar with those methods, right? No, not really. So, well, Frank, we do use those same methods, but let's get to the real important question here. Let them know you're in control and that by making that statement, you're telling him that you're in control and that you need to get to that bottom line. I knew somebody was going to say that. Bill Moriarty said, Hillary said that. What difference does it make? Well, in this case, it doesn't. In her case, it did matter.
Well, see, Joe, the other thing, if you don't handle it, then you're going to be in more than a 3 to 5 minute, conversation, and you don't want to do that. So you have to understand the technique, and you have to control the conversation, or you could lose.
Look, here's the same principle. It's going to go way off the chart here, but, if you had a kid that said, why can't I go out Friday night? Because you're being punished. Yeah, but but what did I tell you? You'll be in at 10 o'clock, and that'll be it. Yeah, but the other kids, yeah, I know, but at 10 o'clock, you know what? I don't care what the other kids are doing. You're coming in at 10 o'clock, period. Don't fight with me about it. And that's the same attitude I have here. I don't care whether it's, where the name came from. When you logically look at it, who really cares? So at some point, Frank, you were interested in managing a business from home, right? We just have to move on, and that's one of the mistakes people make is they get involved in these conversations and try to respond and give the right answer for the person on the other end so the person on the other end likes them. And maybe if you say it nice and maybe if you tell them, they're going to join you. When a person starts asking things like that, you can bet on it. They're not coming aboard. I promise you. Very few of those. They're looking to show you that they're smarter than you. That's why most people criticize other people, because that makes them feel good about themselves subconsciously. So if a person is objecting to what you're doing, it's okay to ask questions, and it's okay if he says, well, you said you don't know. Well, in other words, you don't know where it really came from? Well, sure I do. And then say that thing. And if he continues on that path, all that person's trying to do, and you should recognize that, they're trying to make you wrong and them right. And this is not a psychology lesson, but it's basically what they're doing. And you know what I would do then? Somebody put in there, what do you think I would do then? If they kept persisting about this name thing, where I got it, when I explained that and tried to move on and they want to stop me and go back to that, what do you think I'd do then? Somebody type that in. You're right, Matt. Matt says it's so true. You're absolutely right. It is true. You notice when people are telling you what you're doing wrong, it's all about them feeling good about themselves because you did something wrong and they knew better. So they feel good. Once I discover that with people, then I just don't associate with them anymore because they're going to keep that up. I just said the name of my old psychiatrist. It's a joke. I never went to one. So Sam, to put it up there, what do you think I'd do then if they keep persisting about this name stuff? All right, let me just take the first one. All right, you're right, Dolores. I just want you to get the words right. Would you know? It's not would you know, it's who do you know? Because would you connotes that they would be a yes or a no. So, Frank, this is how it starts when they do that. Well, Frank, let me ask you this question. Who do you know that would be interested in a career change for the right money? I'd emphasize the word would, just to let him know I know it's not him. And he'd do it nice. Hey, Frank, let me just ask you this then. Who do you know that would be interested in a career change for the right money? And then you follow that script. Yeah, again, Roger, if they know anyone, no. Who do you know? It's how it starts. I didn't make that up, by the way. I learned that from one of the greatest communicators of all time. Sat for hours and hours and hours. I was fortunate enough to be in the same office of the two of these people. It's time to ask them if they know anyone interested in a home business and ease out of it's not even ease out of it, Roger. It's get out. It's time for me to leave, and I'm going to say, Frank, let me ask you this question. Tell him you're going to ask him the question. Who do you know that would be interested, not in a home business, but in a career change for the right money? Let me tell you a story about changing words and so on. I know you meant that, but stay with the scripts. Stay exactly what they say. I've told this story many, many times about my friend who was the cop. So for those that didn't hear it, for those that heard it who say, yeah, I already heard this, great. Let it sink in. For those that didn't, listen up. This was a friend of mine in networking, a very, very big state trooper. And he loved to intimidate people. And he stopped someone one time because he was watching, in his early days as a patrolman, watching a guy who would pull up to a stop sign, just slow down, look around, and move on without completely stopping. So Ed pulled him over and asked him for his license and registration. The guy was arguing with him, not give it to him, and he basically, as I said, Ed liked to threaten people. So he told him he was going to drag him out of the car and so on. And anyway, he gets him out of the car. And he said, what did I do? He said, you ran the stop sign. He said, I didn't run. I didn't run. Look, I slowed down. I looked. There's no cars for miles. It's the same thing. So Ed took out his nightstick. He grabbed the guy by the shoulder and lightly, now if you know anything about a nightstick, it's filled with lead. It's very heavy. Those cops carry those things. And he started tapping him on the top of the head. And he said, well, let me ask you a question now. Do you want me to stop or do you want me to slow down? Same thing, right? I suspect he got the point, that guy. And Ed did give him a ticket for running the stop sign. It's not the same thing. So study these scripts over and over and over again until you can ad-lib with them like I was doing earlier. But don't change the dialogue here. Get used to, you know why? Because our main focus is to help other people, to teach them. And if you start playing around with words and moving it around and saying, well, home business is the same as career change, well, theoretically, yeah, I guess. But watch what your next person will do with it. Because it's not the same thing. In order to get duplication, it has to be exactly the same. Like a car wash. Car wash doesn't care whose car comes through. It does the same thing every time. And that's how they get duplication. Same thing here. Duplication, because you taught them to do the same thing over and over again. And that's how we got to have extremely successful downlines, because we taught the same thing, the same answers. This answer, where'd you get my name, is 18 years old. It's the same thing when we dialed the phone out of a phone book, and they'd say, where'd you get my name? Anyway, Mark, we'll see everybody tonight. Everybody meaning those who actually said they wanted to be in that advanced class, and if you've missed that, the first one, you've missed it. Anyway, over to you, partner. Thanks for being here today, as always.
Okay.
Let me make one thing. I changed the schedule in there so that everybody can see that next week, Christmas Day, obviously, and the day after, we will not be on the Breakfast Club those 2 days. So we'll get those 2 days off, and then they have a long weekend and back again on Monday. So it's in the schedule when you see it. So there won't be any way, obviously. And the 24th will be here, but not the 25th or 26th.
All righty. Okay, we're at the bottom of a little bit past the bottom of the hour, so looking for everybody tonight. Be ready. And but everybody else, now, let's go out today. Make it a great day. Share this opportunity with people. Change your life, career, state, city, country, and most of all, let's help change this world, but let it first be the change in us that we want to see in the world. So with that being said, this is Mark Stevens, our host, Joe Shute, saying peace and blessings, everybody. Go out and make it a great day, and we will see you back here tomorrow on The Breakfast Club. Have a great day, everyone.